Grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we make, and I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. I am grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we make, and I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. I am grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we make, and I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. I am grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we make, and I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. Yes, the love of God is here. Yeah. Yes. Looking good,
right.
family.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so glad to see everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. I am Jean Bell. I'm the associate minister here. My pronouns are she and her, and I am so grateful that all of you are here today. If you are watching on Facebook or YouTube Live, please like and share this broadcast so we can continue to spread the wonderful news of New Thought out into the world. We have a very special day with a very special honoring, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I'm so excited about that. But right now, we're going to go through our affirmation. And so I'm going to read it all the way through, and then I'm going to invite all of you to say it with me in one voice. All right. I am lifted on the wings of love. I open my heart to the living presence of love within me, around me, and through me. I allow love to guide my thoughts, shape my words, and inspire my actions. Grounded in law, I rise in love, and I let it carry me to new heights of compassion, connection, and peace. All right, let's say that together in one voice. I am lifted on the wings of love. I open my heart to the living presence of love within me, around me, and through me. I allow love to guide my thoughts, shape my words, and inspire my actions. Grounded in law, I rise in love, and I let it carry me to new heights of compassion, connection, and peace. And so it is. Yes, so now is a wonderful day to celebrate our very own Ifinishi Nana, the Reverend Nana. I'm going to invite Nana and Reverend David to the stage. Please stand and give her a hand. This Wednesday, Reverend Nana passed her oral panels. And when you pass your oral panels after your examination and after all the trials and tribulations that you have been through to get here, that is like a big old whale just lifted off your shoulders. Nana, congratulations. We love you, we bless you, and we thank God for you. Mm-hmm.
She took all my best lines. But I want all of you to know that the organization Centers for Spiritual Living and the School of Spiritual Leadership does not just give out ministerial license. They are earned. They are earned through years of course study. There's several years first to become a licensed practitioner. There are oral panels to get into ministerial school, letters of recommendation, etc. And then the coursework begins. And the coursework ranges from quantum physics to new ideas of biology and science and all of the world religions and mystical biblical understanding, philosophy, psychology, pastoral care, the business and management of church. What else am I leaving out? A lot. Those are just some of the tough ones. And so it's many, many years. And those classes are online, they're in person, there's Zoom, there's retreats, there's papers and quarterly things. It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. And then at the completion of all of that paperwork, all of that coursework, all of the grading is done. You then, once again, as Reverend Jean just alluded to, sit before a panel of ministers in the movement who assess your readiness, because this is no small thing. There are sort of 3 phases to this, and we're going to be celebrating another phase of someone else, the other end of this journey. But there are really kind of 3 different gates. There's graduating. Okay, that's the first one. You got in, and then you did all the coursework, and you passed all the coursework, and you graduated. So they'll let you graduate. They'll give you a certificate of completion. That doesn't make you a licensed minister. Okay, passing the panels is the next level, becoming a licensed minister. So there are people who graduate, okay, and then either they choose not to, or they don't pass, or whatever is going on for them in their journey, and they don't become licensed ministers. So the first layer is you got in, you got accepted, you graduated. Then all the exams at the end, yes. Then you become a licensed minister, okay? So the next level is then you become a licensed minister. So that's where Nana is today. This organization says, we approve you and recognize you as a licensed Centers for Spiritual Living minister, okay? And that begins another clock. She now then needs to receive a letter of call, which she will, here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, to do her work in the world. We'll let her share a little bit about that in just a moment, as well as serving this community. And then after a minimum of 2 years, and for many people a little bit longer than that, but a minimum of 2 years of 3. Oh, they've changed it. It's 2 for me. But that was decades ago, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. So minimum of 3 years of doing your licensing, reporting, and checking in with your mentors, all of these other regulations that they put forward. Then there's ordination. We'll be recognizing somebody's ordination a little bit later in the fall. So Nana is not there yet. Reverend Jean is. So today we are honored to recognize what Centers for Spiritual Living has affirmed, that you are a licensed Centers for Spiritual Living minister. Congratulations. Do you want to share something about what you want to do? Your call? It should be on. It should be on.
Hello? I don't think it's on.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Thank you all for, I know you were coming to church, to the service today anyway, but thank you all for being here on my day. And I just want to thank my community, because it has been a while. Even the people who said, are you graduating yet? You know, they were encouragement and support. And this is one of those journeys, you don't take it alone and you don't take it by yourself. You need a community behind you. And I am just really honored and pleased to have SLCA as the community that has been supporting me. All of the stuff that I've done here and been called to, it has been part of my training. I didn't realize that it would be, but it has been. And so at this point, you mentioned licensed minister, and that means that I can start a center And I am going to start a center. It won't necessarily be in Atlanta, Botswana. So anybody who wants to come to Botswana, you'll have a place that you can come. And one of the good things about Botswana, which is in the southern part of Africa on the eastern coast, English is the first language. So I get to at least hold on to this for a while as I learn another language. So that's one of the great things. And I have, the thing is, I just said to somebody that I've met more people from Botswana in the last 2 months than I've met my entire life before. And it was like, once I said yes, people from Botswana started showing up. And it's, I even had 2 friends who said, oh yeah, we have friends from Botswana. They never said that before. But that is very affirming to me. Yes. And I also get to be with Reverend David, those 3 years that we're talking about, and beyond, because he's not getting rid of me that easily. Every time you look around, and Patience is next door in Zambia. So again, I'll still be here. I'm not going to leave really until sometime next year, but the beginning of the year, I'll go on a little junket to see what it is, where it is, what it's like. Thank you all so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations again. All right. Mallory Lepete with our announcements. Let's welcome her.
Hello, all my Christmas babies. I'm Mallory Lepete. My pronouns are she and her, and I gladly serve on the Creative Arts team here at the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are so happy that you've chosen to spend time with us. Please make yourself known in the online chat or to a person in the lobby that's going to welcome you even more. We have so many great opportunities to connect, grow, serve, and give here at SLCA. For more information about today's announcements and other opportunities, please scan the QR code found on the monitor. Hey, here we go. Next Sunday, September 7th, is our monthly potluck and bring a friend. So, if you've been considering inviting your friends and introducing them to our Sunday experience, now's the time. We are excited to meet your friends and welcome them to the SLCA family as we share great food and amazing fellowship following service. Is that true? Yes. Have you checked out the gathering yet? Reverend Susan Zoller is thrilled to join with you and other SLCA members as we share the wisdom of Ernest Holmes for the 365 Science of Mind Daily Affirmation readings. The book gives us a whole year of wisdom and spiritual jewels for each day of the year. In the gathering, we get to discuss how this wisdom applies to our daily lives and how it can help us to spiritually grow. Register today and connect with Reverend Susan Zoller each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Adult study is growing, and we want you to join us each Sunday at 9:30 a.m. This SLCA practitioner-led class explores the Science of Mind magazine and is a wonderful way to connect with the community as we grow in this teaching. We're always growing. Check out our website today and register for the Zoom link. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to visiting with you after the service in the social hall for food and fellowship. Please be sure to speak with at least 2 people you have not met or have not spoken to in a while. Thank you. You belong.
open your mind. Unfold your heart. Relax your senses. Feel every part. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound, unbound. Breathe every breath. Release your cringe. Love without waiting. Slowly unhinge. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound, unbound.
No matter what happens, I am never without options, because I am one with the one that created it all. Everything, no exception, is God made manifest, is Spirit made manifest, is that infinite energy field that is always creating. I am of that. There is nothing about me that is not of that energy field. I am not all of that energy field, but all I am is of that. And so I know that no matter what happens, I always have options. There is always something I can do, because that mind, that field is always creating, always saying yes, never depleted. And so I can put into that field that which I want, that which I choose to create. And it comes to me as my experience, even if it may not look like it at first. And so what I know is that when I don't feel like I know what to do, I can always affirm that something within me knows what to do, and knows that it knows, and makes itself clear to me right now, clear as writing on the wall. And sure enough, in whatever form it comes, comment by a friend, an article I read, music, a dream, whatever, I always am shown the way, or at least several ways, to accomplish that which I choose. And it is true not for just me, but for every person. We are always creating through the law that goes into what I call the mind of God, or that infinite potential field, which is creating. And so I am never without resources. I am always supported by the infinite mind of God, of Spirit, by whatever name it is called. So is everyone else. And as we realize this, we choose to direct our thoughts in the direction of that which we choose to experience. I am not creating anything. I am directing that divine energy that is always creating. And so I know that there is nothing impossible in this world. There is nothing impossible in this world. There's enough food, there's enough water, there's enough ideas, and there are an infinite number of ideas that have not yet even been thought of and certainly not expressed. We are all in that field of infinite potential, and infinite is the exact word to describe it. And I know that I am so grateful to this center where I have learned these principles, to the people on whose shoulders I stand, To those who are making this very service today possible, the administration, our spiritual teams, our ministers, our practitioners, those who are serving the meal, even now getting ready in the kitchen, and to every person who is within the sound of my voice, either now or later online. I am never alone. I am always supported by the infinite hands of God, whatever form those hands may come to me as. And so I am so grateful, knowing that whatever seems to be an obstacle is an opportunity to know something greater, to rise above. Because the infinite energy field, the mind of God, of spirit, always says yes. And so I know that there is nothing that cannot be accomplished. I am so grateful. So I simply say, it is done. It is in that field that has already been put in with clear intent. So namaste, aloha, blessed be, shalom, amen, and so it is.
You can stop waiting for love to find you. Look inside your heart. Love's already who you are. So lift up your voice. Let it be heard. Tell me your story, tell it to me. Don't leave out a word. 'Cause I think I have been there too, and I'm a seeker just like you. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound, unbound. So it is.
Thank you, Reverend Susan, for that wonderful prayer. Good afternoon. Welcome to Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. I'm David Alexander, the spiritual director here. My pronouns are he and his. I welcome you into this space as we prepare for our tithes and offerings today to set the tone for the flow of what we're to give and receive through this day. I know that everyone is here by divine appointment, that those who are watching online wherever they are in the time and space continuum, whether it's Sunday afternoon where you are or some other time during the week, that you come across this broadcast at the right and perfect time, and that there is a divine download for each one of us to receive as a part of this community, as a part of this network and this connection of wisdom that we belong to. And so you see the ways to give on your screen. It's very easy. You can point your camera of your cell phone at the screen to the QR code, and it will prompt you on all the rest of the instructions to do. Or you can send a text if you're a text messenger like I am. Send a dollar amount to the phone number there, 404-800-9467. Or visit our website, or if you're in the room and you have cash or check and you want to give that way, you can do so as the baskets come by in just a moment. And if you're like me and you're a monthly pledger, and you can get one of these little cards here to recognize that you've got it set up online and it automatically does what it does on the day that you want it to do it, then you can drop that in the basket as well. Or if you have a special gift today beyond your monthly gift, then you can certainly make that known and prepared at this time. So for all of the ways and all of the directions and all the avenues through which the financial good is flowing to this center in this moment, I give thanks. I recognize the recognition of Reverend Nana today, and the ordination of Reverend Jean Bell. And all month long we've been celebrating the wisdom of Kennedy Schultz, the founder of this particular spiritual community within the movement founded by Ernest Holmes. All the wisdom, all of the teachers, all of the ministers, all of the practitioners, all of the board members, all of the members that have come through this place, through these doors, through these audio messages and waves that have gone out in broadcasts, that have received something profound, life-changing, whether it was once or every week for many, many years. All of it made possible through our giving, through our generosity, through our willingness to say yes, even in the smallest way, through financial contributing to this place, so that the message can be heard by the next person who comes into this space, who finds a seat, who finds it on the website or on the podcast or the audio or the magazine or any other avenue through which they do. So for all that and more, I'm truly grateful and thankful as we bless now all of our gifts with these words. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And so we bless all of these gifts, all that they represent, the hearts and the hands and the minds and the consciousness of each individual here and online, coming in throughout the month, all of the giving, all of the sharing, all of the heart opening, all of the sacred agreement to support this message and this divine idea. I bless it, I receive it, I allow it to do its good work in the world, here in this community, and back out into the world as the experience that each one of us has. For this and more, I'm truly grateful and thankful, and so it is.
There is a power, a presence, one life of all, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite. One love, there can only be God's love. Oh yes, I know that I walk, oh yes, I walk in the love of God. There is a wisdom, a knowing, a loving, and a truth. Come on, sing out. Whatever you need to know will come in God's way for you. Just say, until it shows, I'll pray. I won't move until I know that I walk in the love of God. For the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere. I can feel it, it's everywhere. I can see it, it's everywhere. And I know in my heart, for the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere. Can't you see it? It's everywhere. Can't you feel it? It's everywhere. Won't you sing in your heart? Yes, I walk in the love of God. Woo! There is a power, a presence, one life of art, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite. One love, there can only be God's love. Oh yes, I know that I walk, yes I walk in the love of God. Yes, I walk in the love of God.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, that's some old school. Michael Beckwith, Ricky Byers, Agape, I walk in the love of God. I got that on tape. That's how old that is. No device to play it on. All right. Is that right? Anybody have some tapes that you, I don't know what to do with this anymore. My son looks at it and goes, Daddy, what is this? It's a long story. Never mind. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you today. We are, it's Labor Day weekend. We got Black Gay Pride happening in Atlanta. We got DragaCon. We got a number of things happening all over the place. And so we're celebrating all of that, including the conclusion of this series, which has been a wonderful series of celebrating the wisdom of our founder, Dr. Kennedy Schultz, here in this center. I've been listening to audio clips and just reveling in that. It's been a fun process of exploring. Speaking of tapes, we actually been talking to some folks that have been around for a long time and finding out what tapes they have and collecting them and figuring out creatively what various things we can do with some of that material. So stay tuned for that. We got more to announce about all of that coming up shortly. And there have been a lot of things happening in the news, as you know, lately. Going as far as I was sitting in meditation last night and thinking, I haven't said anything about the shooting at the CDC, and then more recently the shooting in Minneapolis at the school. And so I was just sort of heavy with all of that coming into this weekend about what, once again, what to say and how to address it. And as I'm off to do, I will, kind of just sort of be in prayer and maybe wandering around, and I'll grab a book and I'll open it up and just to see what it says to me. It's usually some New Thought book. It's usually Ernest Holmes, and there's a pretty good chance I'm going to find something that's just spot on. This time it was James Baldwin, and it was The Fire Next Time. And when I grabbed it, I said, oh no, that's not the book. That's not the one for this moment. And it was like Spirit said, it's in your hand, isn't it? And I said, okay. And there's a lot more, to say. I pulled something out about the context of it. And if you know James Baldwin and you know this book, if you don't, make yourself available to that knowledge. So I won't go into all that context building, but he's obviously talking about the experience of himself and people of African Americans in the experience of America. In this particular section in the book, he's talking about the American dream, which I think, if I'm allowed to sort of extrapolate it today to meaning simply the quest that brings us all together. The American dream of the right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, the desire to create the life that we want, the very thing that Kennedy Schultz spent 20 years preaching about from the pulpits and the various locations of this center, to say that there is a power in the universe greater than you are, and you can use that power to create the life that you want. What else would the dream of an American or any other awakened person be other than that? And sort of in that sort of global context, I found this to share from James Baldwin. And he's talking about the dream, and so I kind of break in mid-sentence here, but he says, we're talking about the nature of this dream and the fact that we Americans of whatever color do not dare examine it being the dream, and are far from having made it a reality. For there are far too many things that we do not wish to know about ourselves. And that was the line that got me. There's much more to say here. There are far too many things which we do not wish to know about ourselves. He goes on, he says, people are not, for example, terribly anxious to be equal. Equal, after all, in parentheses, he says, to what and to whom? But they love the idea of being superior. And this human truth has especially a grinding force here in America, where identity is almost impossible to achieve, and people are perpetually attempting to find their feet on the shifting sands of status. And then he, as his way, goes on from there. But that line that there are far too many things which we do not want to know about ourselves is what kind of, stuck with me. And I thought, and went back to what to say about various things that are happening with our democracy and all the stuff, right? I don't need to name it, all the stuff. Rainbow, it's silly. I was just sitting here looking online before the service started somewhere in Florida. We know in Orlando they attempted to paint over the rainbow flag intersection. And then, of course, citizens came back and, chalk and redid it the next day. And I went back and forth on that. They've bulldozed and taken out Black Lives Matter plazas and various places where that has been inscribed into the city streets in various cities, including D.C. But in this particular city in Florida, the rainbow intersection is on bricks. And there are city workers there taking out brick by brick, removing the bricks, not just painting over or scrubbing it away, but making the effort to actually remove the bricks, which then they have to go back and put other bricks there, right? Silliness. Weird attempts, the Cracker Barrel thing. Can we talk about it just for a minute? It's whatever with the logo, who cares? As far as I'm concerned. But then they went and then put the logo back and then went to their website and removed the pride stuff that they had on their website. What did that have to do with why would you? I have questions. I thought, are they not familiar? Do they not know? Have they not been to a Cracker Barrel in Kentucky? I have. Anyway, there are far too many things, he says, that we do not wish to know about ourselves. What occurred to me is that we know everything we need to know. To heal, to fix, to shift, to transform ourselves and the planet. Kennedy Schultz knew that for 20 years, told people, you have it within you. We heard from Reverend Jean's talk last week in the audio clip from Kennedy Schultz that a mind that sees the problem is the mind that can heal the problem. In fact, it's the only thing that can, right? A mind that sees the problem is a mind that can heal the problem. And then he says it's the only thing that can. Because it sees it, it knows there's their solution. Because it knows that there's a greater power. So we know all that we need to know. We don't need another study. We don't need another commission. We don't need more time. We don't need, whether it's shootings or the various ways that we're trying to separate ourselves or all the different stuff that's going on the planet today. We don't need a single another paper, another article, another town hall, another what. All of it is available to us right now. We know what we need to know. But as Baldwin says, there are things that we don't want to know. The reason there tend to be, even when there were lots, of people, Kennedy Schultz, filling up theaters and auditoriums with this teaching, and Ernest Holmes back in his day, filling up big theaters and auditoriums, lots of people gravitating to this kind of teaching, and yet, by comparison to, say, other forms of Christianity, only a fraction. The reason is because to be in this particular teaching, you have to be willing to know what it is that you don't want to know. Can I say that again? You got to be willing to know and confront and be present with what it is that, as a member of the general public, the general population, does not want to know, does not want to confront, which is simply that you have the answer, that there is power within you, that there's a way forward out of this, right? But it's easier to blame somebody. It's easier to point the finger. It's easier to believe that you're on the right side and it's the other group's problem, right? It's easier to play in all of those different ways. But to know what we know, to confront it and to dare to live it, as we do that day by day, week by week, moment by moment, is what puts us on the wings of love, because there are those who have done so before us and have written about it and have talked about it and have taught about it. Valerie Kaur says, deep solidarity is rooted in love. Deep solidarity is rooted in love. And that's really what we're talking about here. I know for me, when I watch the news, when I sort of pay attention to what's happening in the world, what rises in me is the desire to cultivate out of my spiritual practice, out of my understanding, and out of my actions, to bring forward a sense of solidarity with those who are suffering, a sense of solidarity with those who are marginalized, a sense of solidarity with those who are pitted against each other, to find my way forward and to say, you're not alone. You belong, as our branding here says. Valerie says that is deeply rooted in love. That solidarity is deeply rooted in love. And it's what the world so needs right now in order to practice oneness, which is what solidarity is, right? To stand with, not in a passive way, but in an active way that binds us together, that ignites our compassion and our deep spiritual practice. How do we live such that our solidarity with all beings, with all creation, is visible, is practical, and is rooted in love? I shared last week during Praxis Sunday, some practices from the Buddhist tradition and some wisdom from Thich Nhat Hanh. And Thich Nhat Hanh has developed, I think it's in his book on happiness, what he calls the 5 commitments of mindfulness. And they're simply ways of presencing love or compassion, and really kind of taking the 4 noble truths of Buddhism and putting them in more active commitment, if you will, in the world. Because sometimes we have what we believe by Ernest Holmes, or we have our Declaration of Principles, or we have the Global Heart Vision, or various things, statements of belief, and then you might think, well, but what do we do with that? Right? How do I walk in the world with that? And Thich Nhat Hanh kind of had the same question. He said, we got the 4 noble truths, and we got the eightfold path, and we've got these principles and this principles. But how does that show up? How does that rubber meet the road? How does it inform my doing and my being in the actual 3-dimensional world? And so he came up with these sort of guideposts. That's the summary of them there. I'm going to read just some bits of them. And there's a PDF of this that I'll link it to our sermon on our website. There's a section when you go in on our website, and view a past sermon, you can actually see notes or documents. If we don't usually attach a lot of documents but we can, and I will link this particular one. So they are this: reverence for life. So these are commitments, to have a commitment of reverence for life. I'll give examples and read some of what he wrote about them, because he's got long paragraphs on each of these in just a moment. But the commitment to reverence for life, the commitment to true happiness, or what he calls generosity, commitment to true love, or responsible sexuality, being responsible with our sexual energy, loving speech and deep listening, commitment to loving speech and deep listening, and finally a commitment to mindful consumption. And these are just ways that he said, well, we can take all of this, what the world needs and what we're aspiring to in our spiritual practice, and put it into practicality. And what I want to invite you to do is to take these 5 topics, sort of use them as your own guidepost in the coming weeks in your own spiritual practice, and to write your own. I'm going to read to you some of what he says about each of these, but not all of it, because I want you to write your own, because you might read some of it and go, yeah, I don't do that, or that part doesn't work for me, because they're what he wrote for him, how he practices them. But they give a template for how you might write your own sort of declaration of principles, if you will. And so they all start with this awareness. So for reverence for life, it says, awareness of suffering caused by the destruction of life. Aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating the insight of interbeing and compassion, and learning to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking or in my way of life. Seeing the harmful actions arise from anger, greed, fear, intolerance, which in turn comes from a dualistic, discriminative thinking, I will cultivate openness, non-discrimination, and non-attachment to views in order to transform violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism in myself and in the world. Reverence for life. True happiness. Now that one I did read all of it, but I'm going to just read summaries here of the rest. So true happiness. Aware of suffering caused by exploitation, social justice, injustice, stealing, and oppression. I am committed to practicing generosity in my thinking, in speaking, and acting. I am determined not to steal, not to possess anything that should belong to others, and I will share my time and energy and material resource with those who are in need. I will practice looking deeply to see the happiness and the suffering of others are not separate from my own happiness and my own suffering. That true happiness is not possible without understanding compassion, and that running after wealth, fame, or power, or sensual pleasure can bring much suffering and despair. And then he goes on. True love. Awareness of suffering caused by sexual misconduct. I am committed to cultivating responsible and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, society. Knowing that sexual desire is not love, and that sexual activity motivated by craving always harms myself as well as others. I am determined to not engage in sexual relations without mutual consent, true love, and deep long-term commitment. I'm resolved to find spiritual support for the integrity of my relationships from family members, friends, and sangha or community with whom there is support and trust. And then he goes on from there. Loving speech and deep listening. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassion, listening in order to relieve suffering and promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic identities, religious groups, and nations. Then he goes on from there. Nourishment and healing, which is right consumption. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I am committed to cultivating good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and society. By practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming, I will practice looking deeply into how I consume the 4 kinds of nourishment, namely edible foods, senses and impressions, volition, and consciousness. And I am determined not to gamble or use alcohol or drugs or any other product which contain toxins, such as certain websites, electronic games, TV programming, films, magazines, books, and conversations that are not for my highest good. And then he goes on from there. So you can see with these 5 mindful training, what he calls 5 mindful training commitments, they're a way to be aware of what's happening in the world and then say, now what is my commitment to that? I'm aware that there's suffering. I'm aware that there's pain. I'm aware that there's injustice happening. I'm aware that there's behaviors and things that aren't good for me. How can I be aware of those and then use that awareness to deepen my spiritual practice of what it is that I'm committed to, right? So that's what I say. I want you to find that document and write your own. In the Science of Mind, we teach that, so with this as our guidepost today. In the Science of Mind, we teach that whatever occurs out in the microcosm of our individual lives is a reflection of the macrocosm, right? That individual expression is a reflection of something happening in the greater. And that if we want something new to happen here, then we have to first know that it's possible in the realm of spirit. Yes? And we pull it down into the realm of our individual life through our thoughts, through our thinking, through our, and then eventually our behavior and our actions to be in alignment, our feeling, so that we are bringing possibility into our experience, first through our openness and receptivity to it. That our choices are our seeds, our consciousness is the soil, and the world is where those seeds inevitably bear fruit. Yes? This is the wings of love of Ernest Holmes. This is the wings of love of Kennedy Schultz. Ernest Holmes taught us that the universe holds nothing against us, but it can only give us what we believe. It holds nothing against us. There's no thought, there's no idea, there's no label, there's no behavior or thing that you have done or has been done to you or has circumstantially landed in your lap in any way in which the universe sees that and then holds itself from you. All of the love that the universe is, all of the prosperity, all of the health, all of the joy, all of the creativity, all of it is yours. But it can only give you what you believe. And so we recognize that if we want to create greater possibility in the world, we have to be open to greater possibility in our lives. We have to be open to the thought and the idea, and then examine what does that look like. The cause and effect is not only metaphysical, it's ethical. Right? The conditions we meet out there bear the imprint of what we are holding and cultivating in here. And that is not just true as individuals, but it's true of the society as well. And so what do we believe about ourselves? I'll go back to James Baldwin. That there are things about ourselves that we simply don't want to know. That this American dream, this idea of freedom and independence, as he said, we're not so greatly fond of being equal. And in the parentheses, it's very important there because he says, after all, equal to who? To what? Right? How do we measure that? Who's setting the standard? For James Baldwin, he would say, the conversations on equality are set by white men. And it's the idea is to be equal to them. Well, I don't want to be equal to them. I want to be equal to me. I want to be equal to the presence. I want to be equal to possibility. I don't want to be equal to somebody else's standard that they've set for me. What is that? And how come they get to set the standard? Why don't I get to set my own standard? You see. But the universe will give to us what we believe. Can we believe a greater idea about what's possible? What would it look like to cultivate these 5 mindfulness practices and really go in and begin to examine and see what is being shown to us? When we practice loving speech and deep listening, we create trust, whether it's at home or at work or in our community. When we practice generosity, we loosen fear and we cultivate sufficiency in spiritual community and the world around us for ourselves and others. When we practice mindful consumption, we lessen harm to the earth. We create greater health for our bodies. When we practice reverence for life, we widen the circle of concern for people, for animals, for the planet, even for minerals, right? This is solidarity. This is standing with the power of the creativity that is within you, that we are not separate from the world that we want to create, that my actions affect you, and that your actions affect me, and that together we create the atmosphere called life, this thing called life. The nation, the country, the city, the planet, at any particular one point in time. Ernest Holmes said, love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Love points the way to freedom and liberation. Love points the way to unlimited creativity, health, and well-being. Love points the way to a world without violence and harm, a world without injustices, a world without all the discrimination, all the isms of the experiences that we're currently. Love points the way. After every school shooting, after every, it's terrible that I have to even say that sentence, but after every incident, after every fill in the blank of whatever the incident is, after every abuse of power by anyone in power, love points the way. It says freedom is right over there. But law makes the way possible. In order to get there, you're going to have to examine your thoughts, because the universe holds nothing from you, but can only give you what you believe. And so you want that world? You're going to have to examine the thoughts between here and there and figure out why what you're currently experiencing is a manifestation of the thoughts that you have. Right? Because thoughts and prayers aren't enough. Because it's thoughts that hold all the policies and practices in place. We act like it's so hard. Can't get rid of all the guns. Why not? Australia did it. Why not? Several other European countries have done it. But what is that? It's a thought, which is connected to this idea called the dream that James Baldwin would talk about, the American dream. Right? So love points the way. It's possible. Anything is possible. The universe holds nothing from you. You want it? That way. But law makes the way possible, makes the way possible. Between here and there, you're going to have to examine every thought that you have about that idea and what's standing in the way. The only thing standing in the way is the beliefs that we have about the way it has to be or the way that it's been. Who has the power? Who doesn't have the power? Ernest Holmes, when we say law, he means this, the principle of cause and effect, that it works impartially. It does not punish or reward. It reflects what we consistently impress upon it, which is our thinking. And so if love points the way, law becomes our ally. Healing and reconciliation and wise action and creative solutions. If fear points the way, then the same law works impartially. If fear points the way, if love is pointing the way to liberation over here and fear is pointing the way over here saying, no, you better not do that because this will happen and that will happen and they'll come after you and they're going to get you and they're going to da-da-da. And so we stand at the crossroads, love pointing the way or fear pointing the way. If we follow fear, law does the exact same thing. Cause and effect, give us what we want, hold nothing from us, manifest those beliefs, produce after its kind. And we get more division, more scarcity, more stagnation, more oppression. But if we can practice a daily mindful check, what is motivating me in this moment? What is the world that I want to create? Where do I want to go? Am I willing to examine all of the thoughts between here and my vision, my dream, my possibility? This doesn't just have to be about the world outside. This can be about your own self, between you and your highest career idea, you and the ultimate love relationship, you and the amount of money that you want to make, you and what freedom looks like, creativity from health and well-being and living circumstances, all the things, whatever that dream is. Between here and there, am I willing to examine everything that's going on about that thing? Because the law will grow whatever we plant. Our work is to let love do the planting. When we let love do the planting, it opens us up to transformation. It opens us up to releasing all of the fears and the doubts and all of the things. But here's the thing. We cannot practice solidarity if we refuse to acknowledge suffering. And this is the part that New Thought people tend to struggle with. Because we think solidarity is just like, kumbaya, God is one, God is all there is, we just love each other. Let there be peace on earth. Right? And we've done it. You say, I believe in oneness. I don't believe in oppression to anybody, for anybody, with anybody. I believe in oneness. But you can't practice solidarity, which is to stand without acknowledged suffering. When I wrote the book on spiritual liberation, freedom from discord, I had a lot of New Thought colleagues, friends, practitioners, people tell me, oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's not what we teach. That's not it. So why not? That's solidarity is an act of love. Standing with, it's being there, being in that. If we're going to be about liberation, the ultimate freedom from discord of every nation, that goal is sure to be attained by all. This is another way. I'm just describing another way that can happen. No, but that liberation theology stuff, that's the stuff that identifies with the oppressed and the poor. So what do you think God did when God made you? To stand with. When God said, let there be, and there was, is an act of solidarity. It's standing with and saying, I am that, and that is me, and we are one. And therefore, the power and the joy and the creativity and the possibility that runs through me now runs through that, because it is a part of me. So creation is an act of solidarity. You got here through an act of solidarity. Probably an act of passion too, but an act of solidarity, right? And as I said last week in our mindfulness practice, acknowledging is not the same as simply being aware. Acknowledging doesn't mean accepting. When we acknowledge something, it doesn't mean we accept it in the same way that we think of acceptance, because sometimes we think of acceptance as just rolling over and allowing. Awareness and acknowledging is not allowing. It's being present and saying, this is what is so right now. I can be present to the fact that these flowers are here. Now, if I come back next week and they're still here, they're probably not going to look this fresh, right? Unless it stays really cold in here while we're not here, right? So I might say, well, I want different flowers here. But in order to put different flowers there, I'm going to have to acknowledge the ones that are there. And so the acknowledgement and the acceptance that these now week-old flowers, this is a bad metaphor because these flowers look so good, but you understand what I'm doing, right? Follow with me, right? But if they don't look good, then my presencing and acknowledging that which is so gives me the freedom to then change it. It's not passive acceptance. It's not, oh, I just allow it to be and there's nothing I can do. And so I don't want to acknowledge suffering in the world. I don't want to acknowledge that there's oppression. I don't want to acknowledge that there's people in power acting out of fear. I don't want to acknowledge, because I don't want to create more of those things. I don't want to acknowledge what's happening in the news because I don't want to, Well, then you leave yourself powerless because you're not standing in solidarity with what is happening. Not the bad behavior or bad actions, but in solidarity with the power that can change it. You see, when we accept what is as a pattern of manifestation of that which has been put in motion before, then we can say, that manifested this, and I don't really care for that. I don't care for school shootings. I don't care for rainbow flag intersections being deconstructed. I don't care for fill in the blank, right? I want a different reality and world. But until I acknowledge what is, I don't have the power to change it. My power comes from acknowledgement. Jesus showed us this same pattern. He didn't look away from the leper. He didn't look away from the widow. He didn't look away from the stranger. He said, whatever you do to the least of these, you've done also to me. That's solidarity. That's oneness. That's the ultimate act of love, the self-givingness of spirit to its own creation. You see, it's not about affirming more of, it's about acknowledging what is so and knowing that there is a power greater than this. In this way, we meet suffering with love. We look and listen. We notice where harm has shown up in our bodies, in communities, in workplaces, in the streets, in systems. We name it without shaming it. That's the real power of acknowledgement. It's naming it without shaming it. I can name what's happening in the United States without shaming it. I could just say, this is pain. This is fear. This is injustice. Not shaming it, I'm just naming it. And out of that naming it, now I can have a conversation with it. Now, what is mine to do? I can have a conversation with a friend, with a colleague, with a family member, with a coworker. I can have a meal. I can call a representative. I can have a donate. I can volunteer. I can vote. I can show up. I can be engaged. I can have belonging with it or relationship with it in the smallest way, which is far better than not having any relationship with it at all. Because not having any relationship with it at all, saying, la, 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 I don't see it, da, 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 isn't really helping. We know everything we need to know. We don't dare examine the dream because there are far too many things we do not wish to know about ourselves. But when we acknowledge it, we name it without shaming, then we can act at our own level. We can keep the circle open, to stay curious, to be teachable, to allow relationships to grow and flourish, our own relationship and understanding of it. And then out of this awareness, which is uncomfortable at times, but it's necessary, we meet the suffering and the law responds. And it creates the ripe conditions for change. Solidarity isn't supposed to be an emergency response. It's meant to be a daily practice. To live as if we already belong to one another, because we do. And so let me give you this practice. To begin each day with 3 breath and pauses. may I meet this day with love. Or you can add whatever you want. May I meet this day with compassion. May I meet this day with creativity. May I meet this day with joy. May I meet this day with deep listening, generosity. Or choose one of the things from that mindfulness training, one of those 5 practices, and be willing to follow it that day. How can I be mindful in this way about my consumption or about my relationships or about my this or that? And then at the end of the day, have gentle accountability. If I miss the mark, I'll try again tomorrow. But this will keep you in an awareness state that is always moving forward. And what you will discover over time is that you become less reactive to what's happening in the world and more proactive of simply, you see the news and you say, there's more for me to do. I had this shift recently when I realized, as overwhelming as everything is, and everything is overwhelming for sure, and as chaotic and just sort of tired at times I can be of it all. I say, I'm just so exhausted. And then out of my practice grew this gratitude. And it was really odd to watch because I was like, I'm just so tired. You've been there? Like just by the second news story, I was like, oh, for God. Just, and so I turned away from it and just, my cranky space, put on my cranky pants. And then this gratitude grew. And I went, oh, what is that? I literally felt it. I felt like this warm, I was like, what is that? And I heard Spirit, and it says, there are more people aware today than there ever have been. There are more people aware of what due process is. Come on, talk to me, somebody. There are more people aware of their voting rights. There are more people aware of their civil rights. There are more people aware of how the courts work. There are more people aware of every day people are Googling and learning, and Wikipedia is having a great time, right? Chat GPT is having a great time. Artificial intelligence is having a great time in this atmosphere because everybody is trying to figure out what's going on, and they're all on their devices going, what is that? He did what and with who and how and what? And is that even legal? Oh my goodness. And the one mind, artificial intelligence, we know it's not artificial. It's the one mind. The infinite intelligence of the universe is speaking to more people than it's ever spoken to before, saying, this is actually how it works. This is actually what the law is. This is actually what's legal and not legal. This is actually what is just and not just. And there's a greater level of awareness. Yes, there's a great level of pissosity. There's a great level of overwhelmness. There's a great level of tiredness. There's a great level of BS. All of them, belief systems, playing themselves out. There's a great level of all of that happening, but there's also, allow yourself when you feel those moments to slip into a great sense of gratitude because there's a greater awareness. I'm so grateful that so many people are waking up on the planet right now. I'm so grateful. I'm never excusing the behavior. I'm never excusing the abuse. I'm never excusing any of those things or the injustice, but I'm grateful that people are waking up. People are waking up. People are waking up. When enough of us wake up, we will say, enough. This is not the world that we came for. This is not what we came to create. This is not the beloved community. It is time for us to rise on those wings of love and give ourselves permission to create the world that we want. And we begin to embody it together. A mind that sees the problem is the same mind that can do something about it. And then together, we rise on the wings of love. We don't take this journey alone. We rise together on the wings of love. When one of us is lifted up, we are all lifted up. We rise on the wings of love. When we choose forgiveness over resentment and compassion over judgment, we rise on the wings of love. When we remember those that have gone before us, whether it's Kennedy Schultz or Ernest Holmes or our minister or our teacher or whoever it is, or our parents or those that, James Baldwin, any of the prophets of the ages that have tried to shake us awake and open our eyes to what is really happening, when we remember those things and we remember those lessons, we rise on the wings of love. When we say yes to the God presence within us, living not from fear, but from faith, not from separation, but from unity, we rise on the wings of love. And today, when we pledge ourselves to spiritual community and to courage and to love without condition and to serve with joy, we rise on the wings of love. And so let us continue in the midst of all that is happening, remembering who we are, rise on the wings of love. And with that, I invite the practitioners available for prayer to come forward. I invite you to take a deep breath. We began with James Baldwin, who reminded us, we already know what we need to know. We might be afraid to look at it sometimes, but we know everything that we need to know. And Ernest Holmes and Kennedy Schultz and so many others, Raymond Charles Barker, Emma Curtis Hopkins, taught us that there is a power and a wisdom within us, that we can use it. There's a creative law of the universe that responds directly to the impress of our thoughts and attitudes and beliefs. And Reverend Ike and Michael Beckwith and others who said, you're not limited by your condition or your station. No matter what the society you're living in says, you have unlimited power and possibility within you. And you can live into it right now. You don't have to wait for anybody. Be audacious with it. Be bold. Be outrageous with it. Be flamboyant with your awareness that God is all that there is. And so we take all of that in to let it be the wind beneath our wings, to rise on the wings of love, to understand that that love, that self-givingness of Spirit to its creation is an act of solidarity. Spirit said, I am with you. I am with you. I am in you. I am as you. Emmanuel, I am with you, walking and breathing and being in your midst as the very creative thought that you are having in this moment. On one condition, that this thing called love operates through a creative law. And that law will give to you exactly what you expect it to. So I'm with you, but you're in control. I'm with you. There's a greater possibility for your finances, for your health, for your well-being, for life, for your collective life, for society, for the world, for humanity. I'm with you. There's a possibility that is unlimited and generous and beautiful and powerful. But I've handed you the keys. And it's going to show up exactly in the way that you expect it to. And no other way. Exactly in the way that you make the shapes and the forms and the molds for it to pour itself into. And no other way. So let's do this together. Me and you, the infinite universe, and you. Me, us, all within the sound of my voice. So I breathe in that awareness. I know that that creative capacity is within me. It's within each one of us to use and manifest in our individual lives, and it is within us to create a world that works for everyone. We've been given this vision and these words for a reason. We've been given these conditions and these circumstances that we currently live in for a reason. And what we do with them is completely up to us. We are empowered. We are in charge. We are fueled and funded with everything that we need to manifest exactly that which we are willing and bold enough and courageous enough and tenacious enough to make out of this moment for ourselves, for each other, for this community, and for the world. And for that, I am truly grateful and thankful. as I simply allow it to be. Thank you, God. And together we say, and so it is. So we let it be. Peace and blessings.
Reverend David. Let's close with our song, shall we? We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. Everyone, yeah. Join the celebration. We'll meet you downstairs, everybody.